What is up, Rally Towel fam? Welcome to Tuesday's Town Hall. As always, you have myself with Corey and Todd. What a weekend in sports that it was. History was made. Some surprising games, some blowouts. It was really really an interesting weekend to watch some football. If you had an opportunity to do so. Well, I mean, without any further ado, let's kind of get into it. Corey, what was your biggest surprise from the weekend?
I would say biggest surprise would probably be the gap between the 7 seeds and the rest of the playoff field. I think we're kind of discovering over these last couple of seasons that more is not necessarily better in the NFL playoffs. We kind of came to that revelation with college football, in the gap between the haves and the have-nots in college football with those semi final round playoff matches. And it kind of, we discussed this in previous episodes, like, I don't know if they should really expand the playoff because you're looking at Georgia and you're looking at Alabama. You're looking at what they did to Michigan and UC respectively. You kind of saw that a little bit in the NFL this weekend. Unfortunately, Bobby, for you, the Steelers were one of the recipients of that.
Yeah, we can get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, and then obviously the Eagles and what they tried to do against Tampa Bay. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a gap. So that was my biggest surprise.
Sure. Todd, who's your biggest disappointment this weekend? Who did you think just didn't show up?
So honestly, my biggest disappointment team as a whole would be the Dallas Cowboys.
I figured.
The lack of discipline. So the lack of discipline. So I think the thing that every Cowboy fan will say is 14 seconds. What's Dak Prescott doing? No. This is not a Dak Prescott caused them to lose the game thing. You can't have 14 fucking penalties, not throw for 200 yards, or not complete 60% of your passes, not run for 100 yards, and give up almost 300 yards of offense on the other side of the ball. Like,
right.
You don't win football games, especially playoff football games, that way. It just doesn't work that way.
That game didn't come down to those last 14 seconds. There was a lot that went wrong prior.
Bruce, jumping in the chat. Appreciate you, Bruce.
So I think similar fashion to Cincinnati allowing Las Vegas to get back into the game, San Francisco allowed Dallas back into that game unnecessarily. That game felt a lot closer than it was actually played out. But player-wise, specifically, my biggest disappointment is Kyler Murray.
Oh, my God. He was terrible.
So outside of poor performance, the lack of leadership that he shows on the sidelines tells me that he is still...
What do you mean by that?
So when you're down 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and you are sitting on the sideline with your head between your legs pouting because you're getting your shit kicked in, that's not leadership. Right. And I think Russell Wilson, even, I don't know if you guys were watching which part of Monday night you're watching, if you're watching the Manning Brothers side or ABC, ESPN, whatever you were watching. But if you were watching the Manning Brothers side, Russell Wilson very clearly says, hey, regardless of the scenario, and you should be on the sideline, hyping up your team, talking to your offensive line. That was a very avid point that he made. As a quarterback, you need to be talking to your offensive line, and you need to talk to your weapons. And then they pan to Kyler Murray, and he's literally sitting there like this, not even watching the game.
Yeah.
And I think
you
an
have
important...
to be engaged, especially as the quarterback.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think an important part of that is that when you see that as his teammate, right? When you see that as somebody, call it a Christian Kirk or a Rondale Moore, particularly a rookie, right? And you see your leader, which is what the quarterback is. Now, you could argue that different teams have different leaders amongst the teams, but in an ideal scenario, the quarterback is the leader of that team.
Right.
That's just the model that has shown to work, right? That's proven success. No one questions who the leader on the Green Bay Packers or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's set right. You can continue to go on. No one questions who the leader on that team is. Well, when you see your leader doing that, it tends to be a bit disheartening, and I would agree with that sentiment. I just want to real quick comment. We got some people piling into the stream here, so I just want to give a shout out to everybody for dropping in. This is your first time to a Rally Towel Sports podcast. We appreciate you dropping by. If you're following us on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. And if you are on Facebook, go ahead and like the video, share the video if you're feeling super frisky. But most importantly, this is Town Hall Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. This is you. This is up to you. As Bobby's dropping into the chat right now, Town Hall Tuesday, what questions do you have for us? What's on your mind? Whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, we're getting all your comments right here on the lovely Streamlabs. So you can let us know what's picking your brain. What are you thinking about most in this week in sports or over the wild card weekend, baseball lockouts, NBA basketball, whatever you're feeling. We're ready to get saucy. So I think the sentiment about the Cowboys was pretty clear, and I just saw, and another thing that I wanted to mention on that is, along the lines of leadership, Dak Prescott in his final press conference of the season, making a comment in regards to Cowboys fans throwing things at the referees, saying, "Well, more credit to them," I believe is what he said. So. Not what you want. Now, I did see Dak released an apology, but at the end of the day,
Can't do that.
Yeah, you're judged off of your initial words, and I think things are most telling about an individual when things are hard, right?
Yeah.
And when things were hard for
absolutely.
Dak, he showed that he's not necessarily a super great guy, I guess. So
Yeah, and I think that when you look at it from the business side of things, if you're managing a group of people and you're your biggest vendor or what have
Bruce.
you does something stupid during a meeting, and your boss goes, "What a fucking moron!" Right during the interview,
Right.
You're like, "Oh shit, that's the wrong thing to do right now." That's what
Yeah.
Dak Prescott did, right?
Sure.
I mean, at the end of the day, regardless of how inconsistent, I think that's the best word you could describe the officiating through this weekend.
Yeah.
Was for most games. You can't encourage malfeasance like
Right.
that. That's you just don't. You just don't as somebody who is in the spotlight like a Dak Prescott who just got paid a shit ton of money by Jerry Jones. So
Sure.
I'll be taking care
you
of
just
that
have to think
YouTube comment.
Yeah, you just gotta. You can't do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Bruce comes in with a comment, the refs are going to win the Super Bowl. That's why I laughed. But no, I mean, we saw some really poor officiating this weekend. The standout performance from the referees would be in the Bengals-Titans game. We did hear later after that game that crew will no longer be officiating in this NFL.
Raiders game. Sorry.
I'm sorry, Bengals-Raiders, excuse me. They will no longer be officiating in this playoffs, and they may not be a crew moving forward.
So that's not the normal crew, right? That's not that referee. That's not his crew. Only two, the line judge and somebody else are a part of his actual in-season crew.
And that's what shocked me, because the head judge for that crew, I like that guy. He usually calls a really good game. That's why I was really shocked, when I saw his face in that headline. I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah, I think that. So that's something that the NFL has done the last couple of years, is that they kind of switch up the crew to basically best available, and then they kind of throw in their top referees into the first round, and then that's who gets to. Then it's a vote basically who gets to move forward, and it just doesn't work. And if you watch the Bengals and the Raiders game, Zach Taylor, those sideline referees that were on the Bengals side, he was in their ear the whole game.
Yeah.
I mean, was nonstop after this.
It almost got to a point for me where I was like, all right, Zach, stop. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's exactly what I was about to say. Like it got to the point in the second half where I'm like, you're not gaining any traction by jawing this dude. This dude doesn't give a shit what you're telling him right now. He's not running out on the field and putting a Band-Aid on the boo-boos. He's just letting the shit ride. So just stop it. At a certain point, you can't
There's nothing you can do.
You don't let officiating dictate the trajectory of a game anyway.
Right.
Officiating doesn't change momentum. The reaction to maybe a bad call or a call that doesn't go your way is what sways momentum. So don't let that change the momentum of the game. And realistically, if you look at that Cincinnati sideline during that game, it did. There were some other things that brought maybe some changes around, but like it brought the sideline down with just a couple of bad calls and that roughing the passer call and Kareem, that really took the wind out of Cincinnati's sails, and it really impacted them. And I think if I'm Zach Taylor, I'm reflecting on that and thinking about, what was my attention to detail on the right thing, or was I more concerned about drawing my point up to a sideline referee?
A couple of shout outs here. I want to get to them early because we got people dropping likes. Love it. Carlos, appreciate you liking the video.
Los.
Katie, Mrs. James, appreciate you liking the video, darling. And Cody Bauer and Bruce, appreciate you guys dropping a like today. We got Brian jumping in the chat. Here's Brian with a big old hoo day. Help me understand. Was that a safety that wasn't called at the Raiders game? So, Brian, I'm assuming you're talking about a sack that occurred near the goal line. I believe it was earlier in the game, if that's what you're referring to. So, at that point, my perception, Derek Carr had the ball, dropped back to pass. He did not completely cross the goal line, his own goal line at that time, and therefore did not establish himself as in the goal line. Forward progress was stopped prior to the goal line. That's why the safety wasn't called. That's why there was no challenge by Zach Taylor. I think it was probably pretty clear. And I would imagine, I may have heard this at some point, I would imagine that teams have crews or personnel upstairs that are, one, watching for these kinds of things, too, but they're also reviewing film on the spot and saying, yep, we need to challenge that, or hey, let's take another look at this, or something like that. So I would imagine the Bengals probably saw the same thing that some of us did, and I hope I addressed that question there for you, Brian. Appreciate you. I appreciate you dropping by and hanging out with us tonight.
Words are hard.
They are. Words are hard. And I tell you, man, I got – all right. Kids are hilarious. Okay, I got a little story, a little anecdote for you this evening. So we're sitting around the dinner table, and we're just talking, and the kids will just say random stuff. I got 2 3-year-olds, and they will just say some random shit, guys. Like, they will just, Todd, get ready for it because you're only like a year and a half away before Declan just starts talking like, nah, nah, nah. And you're like, what's that, baby? Like the Louis C.K. bit. Like, what's that, darling? Uh-huh. Yep, sometimes dogs are brown. Uh-huh. And you just have to keep going with your day. Like, that shit happens all the time. So we're sitting around the dinner table, and one of the girls brought something up about somebody biting somebody. They said, we don't bite people because, we tell them that. So they just regurgitate the shit we say. And like, that's right. Yeah, we don't bite people. That's right. Yeah, when we do it on accident, we say sorry. And we're like, yep, that's very good, very good. And then Harper looks up from her spaghetti with tomato sauce all over her face, and she says, and when we do it on purpose, we say it's an accident. And I lost it. I absolutely lost it. It's one of those moments where you can't be a parent for a minute because you're laughing so fucking hard. And I was just sitting there.
There's no composure there.
No, I literally was like she's sitting over here from me, and I'm just like, nope. Do not show her that this is funny as fuck right now. Do not let her know how funny she is. It was absolutely sublime this evening.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's amazing.
That is, if that sums up a toddler's thought process and just a perfect tiny little bow. Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah, that's it right there.
I love it.
It was
that's incredible.
But so any other? Do we want to? I mean, Bruce was talking about the refs, and I think that it's been kind of a talking point for most of the season is the officiating. Is there any kind of? I mean, you might kind of touch on a little bit for the Cowboys game, and Bobby, I don't know if you got a chance to watch the Cowboys game at all. I mean, give me your opinion on the officiating in that game.
I actually didn't get an opportunity to watch that
Okay.
game, but from everything that I watched, it had nothing to do with the officiating.
Yeah.
It had everything to do with the gameplay of the Cowboys. Listening to all the reports, watching the highlights,
Yeah.
the Cowboys had every opportunity to win that game. My biggest thing with the Cowboys, something we had discussed a little bit earlier, are they ever going to be successful under the reign of Jerry Jones?
Again, successful again.
Yeah, right.
Yes, but to your point,
That was like almost 30 years ago.
right? But to your point, I don't know if Mike McCarthy is the right coach for the Cowboys.
Who is the right
I don't-
coach?
I don't know. So I'm not saying that like I have.
He might be on the sideline of Dallas already.
Yeah, Kellen Moore.
No. Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
Take a look at that defense and the difference that Cowboys defense, and I can't believe we're fucking spending time talking about the Cowboys right now. But you look at that defense and what they did from one year to the next, I think, you tip of the cap to him. Mike McCarthy is not a leader of men. He doesn't inspire. He doesn't make you want to play harder. You look at a Sean McVay and a Dan Campbell and a Brian Flores and Mike Tomlin. It's, a John Harbaugh. Yada yada yada. Bill Belichick for some select few people, but you look at those guys and they motivate, right? They pull the best out of you. Mike McCarthy is literally the wart on the toe of a coach. Like he's not even. He just does nothing. I don't know.
He had a lot of talent in Green Bay and did nothing with it.
Well, yeah, he won one Super Bowl. He wasted most of Aaron Rodgers' career, in my opinion.
So I think Mike McCarthy. I think he's a slob. That's how I describe him. He just doesn't seem like he's ever fully invested at any point in time during a game. He always seems like he's either like distracted or like not really concerned.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just like his appearance, because he's always had kind of like a rough appearance, but it just like there's just something about him that just makes me think like, how the fuck did he get here?
Yeah, and kind of like I was going off on Matt Patricia the other week, like talking about like shave your fucking beard, clean it up, turn your hat forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Until you've won 7 Super Bowls, you can't stand on the sideline like Bill Belichick.
Yeah, dressing in like a Goodwill hoodie. Yeah, you can't do that. And Carlos jumping in here in the chat. Appreciate you, Carlos, saying, so happy the Cowboys lost. Quote, America's team, one and done, you bums. Love it. Absolutely fantastic.
Los is a Philly guy. So
there we go.
That is quintessential to see them get beat.
Yeah.
And
yeah. I mean,
to be fair, I think all three of us agreed that the 49ers were going to beat the Cowboys.
I think, did we all three take them? I mean, we can get into picks on Thursday, but I know I went a perfect 6 for 6.
All my notepads in my room.
Yeah, we can go over that on Thursday. Be sure to tune in Thursday, guys. We got a great show on Thursday. The host of Locked On Titans is going to be jumping on to Line to Gain on Thursday, so it's going to be really, really cool. If you're not familiar with the Locked On Podcast Network, literally any of your favorite teams has a daily podcast pretty much. It's fantastic, fantastic source of information for your favorite
Quick
team.
comment from Brian here. Is it just me, or Zeke had a great first year and then just went downhill from there?
I would say a good first couple of years for sure. And really, Hubie jumping in the chat. What's up, Paul? Appreciate you, man. Zeke, I think, is kind of like most running backs in that regard, though. I don't necessarily think that running backs are something that you can hang your hat on for more than a few years. And if you can, those are rare, and those are, when you've struck gold. But I think running backs are kind of
don't come around every day.
Yeah, what was the comment made the other day? Frank Gore and Adrian Peterson. You don't get many of those. And Todd said, "Yeah, I think you just named all of them." And I think that comment's pretty true. That the 1997 Ford F-150 that just won't fucking die, that's still in your uncle's driveway. Those are very rare. So,
right.
And Zeke is. I'm not sure. Maybe there's a business decision being made there. And again, this is all speculation. Maybe there's a business decision being made by Zeke that, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna run kinda. I'm not gonna be concussed by the end of my career. I don't know.
Yeah.
So again, speculation.
I think that's an interesting perspective because I think Zeke is is a sponge of sorts in a way, right? And what I mean by that is, so what I mean by that is that he is his commitment to the game is reflective of his team's involvement in the game, right? So early on when him and Dak were playing together, it was electric. Both of those guys. I mean, it was not like the first couple of years that they kind of got their shit together. It was crazy to watch them in the backfield and the things that they were able to do and the plays that they were able to create. And I think something that Zeke is really, really good at that I don't think he gets a lot of credit for, but I don't know if we talk about it a lot, is he's a great he's a great pass blocker. He gives Dak an extra second or two if he's in the backfield with Dak. So now they're both paid. And I think money comes into the equation there, right? So they're both guaranteed a large lump sum of cash. And Dak Prescott, while his return from his substantial injury has been incredible, and for him to come back from basically having your foot rotated 180 degrees and then being able to scramble, 12 months later is insane. But I don't think we saw the same Dak Prescott this year either. And that's
we did in the first couple weeks, and then he.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think the mobility is reduced significantly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, and I think the perception of him being back and what you're saying, Bobby, I think that's the love story of somebody coming back from an injury and overcoming objection. Because as American consumers, we love that shit. We eat that shit up. We talked about it on the first 3 weeks of our podcast. We talked about Dak Prescott coming back and defeating this injury, and I just said it 2 minutes ago. But it just doesn't feel the whole mesh of the two of them doesn't feel the same. And in fact, I think when Tony Pollard is in the backfield, their offense runs better.
He's a better runner right now. He's been a better runner for the last almost 2 years.
Yeah. So why are they still splitting time 70-30? Why is Tony Pollard not out on the field more?
I don't know.
My question.
I would actually be really interested to see what the snap count looks like and if it's 70-30. I would almost venture to say that it's probably closer to 60-40, if not verging. At least at the start of the game, I feel like Zeke gets a lot of the touches, but as it moves forward, I feel like Pollard really takes control of the game, and you saw that a little bit at San Francisco. A couple more shout-outs to give here. John Thrasher is back. He's had a hiatus. He's had a hiatus from the Rally Towel shows, and he's back. Appreciate you liking the show, John. Elizabeth dropping a like, thank you, and Brian, of course, thank you for dropping a like.
Liz, what up? Couple comments from Hubie. Zeke was a flash in the pan, overpaid, as are most of the Cowboy players, which I believe Todd just kind of touched on a little bit. Danced around it. Said they just got their paychecks. I think we can all agree with that. And then he also came in with a comment, by the way, you've seen Derrick Henry's rehab videos, sick. And that Derrick Henry is also 9th in the league in rushing, and he also missed half the season.
Yeah, no, that's I mean, it's amazing.
I mean, Derrick Henry is the best running back in the NFL. There's no questions about it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any questions about that. Anybody that's going to try and tell you otherwise,
Paul,
is
we have.
They're just kidding themselves. I think they're just kidding themselves at this point, and it's stupid. Yeah. It's stupid to do it. Here's the thing I'll say about running backs, because we're kind of on it right now. You know, and Travis is making this comment right here that the Cowboys are financially strapped with Zeke. Travis, appreciate you hanging out, buddy. They are, and I think you've seen probably, at least for right now, in the way that football is set up financially, schematically. You've seen the last of those contracts for running backs. You won't be seeing those anymore. So those are
Joe Mixon. Yeah, the Joe Mixon contract makes more sense moving forward with
the Nick Chubb contract, right?
Yeah.
Based. There's not as much guaranteed money out on the table. You're not seeing Adrian Peterson deals anymore. Those are just gone because running backs are a dime a dozen. You're seeing running backs take it in the second, third, hell, even fourth round into good running backs that can be the cap. So another thing, just really to point on Hugh's comment, yes, he is one of the best running backs. He is the best running back in the league. Running backs don't win championships. They don't. That's just, I'm sorry, that's Nick Chubb, Jonathan Taylor, Dalvin Cook. Those are all probably some of the top 5 running backs. Most of them aren't in the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say the only exception to that rule was the Steelers taking Najee Harris in the
Fair.
first round this year.
Yeah.
But we'll see what kind of contract he gets after his rookie contract's up. But man, he had a great first season. So those SEC running backs are just built different.
Yeah, I would say most SEC players are pretty much built different, cut from a different cloth, if you will.
Oh yeah. Travis came in with a comment. Reminds me of when Le'Veon Bell sat out from the Steelers for a big contract and ended up losing money and ruining his career. Yeah, absolutely, man. I think the most poignant statement from that entire situation came from Le'Veon Bell's mom, and said, basically, you're a fucking idiot. You should have taken the money with the Steelers and stayed with a great team. Instead, you chased $3 million more and went to the Jets and then just died. Like, woo! Good for you. You got an extra $3 million a year.
But no, he would have made more money with the Steelers. Isn't that correct?
He would have.
Yeah.
Over a longer term. He just wanted more money a year. Like, it was an absolutely immature decision by him. And being a Steelers fan, I was extremely upset when he didn't take the deal. And when he didn't take the deal, I basically wrote him off, said, fuck you, you're gonna go there and ruin yourself. Exactly what happened. So, yeah. That kind of struck a chord here. I apologize. Paul came with a comment on 4th and long with Nathan. I'm very conscious of not being a homer for the Titans. Here, I can let it fly.
There you go. Welcome. Yeah, this is your safe space, Hubie. This is
Yeah.
your safe space. And for those of you that don't know,
Come on in, baby.
4th and Long is a show that I was able to be a part of on Friday. So I appreciate the Rally Towel family that jumped in and liked the video and everything. Nathan was kind enough to come in our show, and Hubie was over there on 4th and Long as well. He's a Nashville resident, so I'm sure he's excited to see his team get into action this week. As I mentioned earlier in the show, on Thursday we're going to be having the host of Locked On Titans on our show, so it's going to be he'll stop by for a little bit and talk a little shop with us for the matchup later this week.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Brian came with a comment. Do the Bengals pick up any vets for defense for defensive help before Saturday? I will defer to Todd on this one.
So I guess you're speaking just on the defensive line, right? That would be my
probably
guess.
interior tackle
Yeah.
position. I think is what it's
Consider-
probably getting
considering
at.
the injuries.
Yeah. I don't know if there's anybody really that is available right now at this point in time, week 2 of the playoffs, that makes any sense. I know that Jesse Bates texted Geno Atkins, whatever. Geno's a year and a half removed from football. No way that dude can suit up and play any game.
Well,
Just
and
can't.
not only that same day, Geno's posting Instagram pictures of him and his son playing in the snow, and like he just has a newborn.
Yeah.
I think Geno is perfectly content just like sitting on his pile of cash, understanding that he's probably going to go in the Hall of Fame, definitely be in the Bengals Ring of Honor. I think he's perfectly comfortable with his career at this point.
Yeah, so I don't think they necessarily need to go out and get any help. Look, losing Larry Najobi it sucks. It really sucks for the Bengals interior defensive line. It really more than anything sucks for him because he's on a 1-year deal. So
yeah, he's on a 1-year prove-it deal, but I think he proved it. I think he proved that he's an effective pass rusher, and honestly, I'd love for the Bengals to bring him back. Just speaking.
Look, they have the space, right? They have some cap space to be able to make a couple of veteran moves, and I think that he's a guy that you try to lock down for at least, I think, 3 years.
I probably go
could
2,
see it
but
2, yeah. I think 3 years, 2 years, giving more of the money up front, and then that 3rd year being an incentivized player.
Yeah, one thing the Bengals
makes the most sense for
Paul. Have a great night, man. Thanks for
pound
swinging
defensive
by.
tackle.
Yeah, Paul Hubie, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you. Great guy. They do a cocktail with Hubie on 4th and Long every Friday night. So he does either a pre-recorded mixed drink or a review, or well, actually no. Friday was the first time he ever did a mixed drink. He did a Bloody Mary with bourbon. And he said it was like an 8 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, something like that. He was.
I'm not a huge Bloody Mary guy. I'm not like tomato juice and alcohol. I'm just like, eh.
Well, he said it added to it. The bourbon made it better than it would normally be with vodka.
All right, fair enough.
And another thing that I
try anything twice.
Yeah, right. That's why I tell people, I said, don't do anything I wouldn't do twice. But
Smart. Good advice.
just one more thing on the interior line of the Bengals. I think they're content with riding with who they have right now. I think they listen, guys, we signed DJ Reed. I'm not on the fucking team, but the Bengals signed DJ Reader to a massive contract. Made him at the time the highest paid nose tackle in the history of football. Okay? Saturday's a DJ Reader game. Saturday is a day where you need DJ Reader to be DJ Reader. It is time for him to step up and be that guy. Now, let me be very clear. DJ Reader has had a phenomenal season, particularly in the run game. I need to see DJ Reader getting pressure on the quarterback a lot. And honestly, who probably one of their best pass rushers is, other than Trey Hendrickson, is B.J. Hill. B.J. Hill's on the interior of that line, and he's one of the best pass rushers alongside Larry Ogunjobi. The great thing about Ogunjobi was he lines up next to Hendrickson often, and they work together really well. But when you get B.J. Hill in that mix, B.J. Hill's been having a really good year too. I mean, one of the best trades the Bengals front office has ever made, sending Billy Price's corpse to New York and getting B.J. Hill in a 7th rounder for it is absolutely phenomenal.
Billy Price had a little bit of a comeback year, though.
He did. He bounced back, which is great to see. I'm not going to root against him.
I think it's funny though because he was. If you are a Bengals fan and you remember that pick, that was a somewhat of a head scratcher. They needed a center, but he's an OSU guy. He was supposed to be the sure thing, right? Because he was a 5th-year senior. Mm-hmm. He had 3 years of starting experience, and he absolutely fucking sucked. I mean, sucked.
Lots of penalties.
Tell me how you really feel.
He just didn't play well, and it was in that draft. If you remember, the Lions picked just before the Bengals, and they took the Bengals target, and that target is now probably the best, if not top 3 center in the league. He's here in Detroit, Mr. Frank Ragnow. Okay, so that's who the Lions took.
So they panicked.
The Bengals needed to address that position. They did so, and then ended up regretting that pick. So
a couple of comments that just ran in. Travis came in. I think this comment is in response to Le'Veon Bell. Did give him an excuse to drop a trash album and make people listen.
Man, that shit's fire, Travis.
Great comment. He also came in and said, "Can they sign someone who retired 2 years ago, like the Rams did?"
Eric Weddle. Dude, it was honestly though. I like seeing Eric Weddle back suited up.
Sure.
It looked good. It looked good.
Sure.
I mean, Jalen Ramsey was obviously a huge fan of his boy coming back.
I like Eric Weddle because he's just like a silent assassin. Not really vocal, but that dude just flew around.
He's just got to come out and ball. That's it.
Just like John Lynch-esque.
I don't know if I necessarily say he was like a massive impact last night.
No.
Yeah, that's what
I mean. He had no impact on the game. They didn't need it. They didn't need Eric Weddle to do anything last night. But I just think that there's just something about him that I really liked when he had hit his prime.
Yeah.
Where he just similar, like I said, similar to like a John Lynch style, where he just flew around the field, just busting people up. And there's something about that like hard-nosed football that really gets my goat.
Sure.
And Eric Weddle did that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Los came in with a comment. He asked us if we actually think Big Ben is going to retire after this year.
I fucking hope so.
There is no doubt in my mind that the game against the Chiefs was his last game.
Yeah.
Everybody in the league knows that it was his last game. His response in the press conference prior to the game told me everything I needed to know about him not wanting to be an NFL football player anymore. He's had enough.
So what was the comment? What had happened?
It was his response to the question if they stood a chance against the Chiefs.
Oh, you're talking about before the game. I'm sorry. I thought you meant the post-game presser.
Yeah,
I'm
before
sorry.
the game.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was his comment before the game is what I was referencing.
He has nothing left to prove. Ben's he's done it all.
He's got 2 rings. He's first ballot Hall of Famer, no questions.
Yeah. It was really funny, and I think Ari, I can't remember his last name off the top, Moranov, I think is My Sports Update on Twitter. If you don't follow My Sports Update on Twitter, do it now. Literally, it almost looks like Adam Schefter's burner. Tweets everything out in simpatico with when Shefty and Rappaport are tweeting stuff out. So if you don't follow at My Sports Update on Twitter, do it now. He had said something to the effect of actually, shit, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Anyway, I got it. We were talking about Ben and his accolades. So Ben, they put something up like so and so passing yards, all-time touchdowns, and then they showed him getting sacked, most sacked all time. Like it was like that was some kind of fucking accolade. That they might as well just put current active leader in interceptions. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? Just a rough Excel query on stats, and then you know what? Let's just generate some graphics and throw it on the fucking TV.
Right. No doubt in my mind it's his last season. It's been a great almost 2 decades with Ben at the helm. Obviously the last couple of years have been a little rough. I mean, for the most part, you know, as a Steelers fan, seeing number 7 run out of the field and getting the ball in his hands in the last 2 minutes of the game, you know, you had a lot of confidence in the guy to go out there and get it done, especially with the weapons that he had around him throughout the years. You know, whether it was Hines Ward or Plaxico Burress, Santonio Holmes, Le'Veon Bell, Jerome Bettis in the earlier days of his career, Ben's being that is, and yeah, I mean, he's had a dominant 15 years in the league. In the last 3 years, really, have kind of not been great, but they've been competitive. This year they did not deserve to be in the playoffs in any way, shape, or form. They were able to get in. They played a strong Chiefs team. The defense looked great in the first quarter, but you can't stay on the field for as long as they were and keep that kind of energy up throughout the duration of a 60-minute game. And ultimately that's what led to their demise. Ben could not drive down the field and make things happen. And the defense got tired, and then obviously the Chiefs took advantage of that with the multitude of weapons they have on the offensive side of the ball. So, Chris coming in with a comment. Chris, thanks for jumping in the stream, man. What's going on in my mind in sports? Sports gambling has been legal in New York for only 10 days now. I'm in deep. Corey, I'm gonna pass this one to you. This sounds like a fellow degenerate.
Yeah, that sounds like my fucking guy right here, Chris Ferguson. What's up, brother? I appreciate you coming on by. You're in the right place, man. You're in a safe place. We don't talk just about wins. We can get in and talk about bad beats as well. Let me post this tweet right here, sharing on Twitter that we're live.
But no, Chris, it's about to be. Is it legal in Ohio now?
So it's about to be. It's about to be
Okay,
legal
yeah,
in
that's what I
sports.
thought.
I think sports venues are gonna be the ones that are carrying that there. So
Yeah.
I did have a couple of good wins. I did a 5-leg parlay over the weekend, picking money line wins only. So I took the Bengals. I took Tampa. I took the Niners. Took the Bills, and then what's the other game that I missed? Oh, I took the Rams last night. So the Rams capped off a nice 5-leg parlay for me. That was a nice win. I actually had a really good weekend betting, Chris. So you're catching me at a bad time to reminisce about bad beats or anything like that. My best bet over the weekend, or my favorite one rather, was the Bengals. So I took Bengals money line as a 3-leg parlay. Bengals money line with Joe Mixon receiving yards over 18.5. And if you'll remember, Joe Mixon covered that very early in a little screen or a little dink pass out to the left, and Mixon took off and ran it for like 25 yards.
I don't know if you just saw this comment by Chris, but he hit the $1,200 parlay on all football games this weekend.
Excellent job. Woo! Now, Chris, did you take money lines or are you betting spreads there? I'm interested. So the last leg of my parlay, guys. Now, I've told some of you this already.
I don't know this, so I'm interested.
The last leg of my parlay was over 0.5 Derek Carr interceptions.
Oh, wow. So he just had to throw one pick.
Yeah.
One interception sealed the deal on this parlay, and it was the last fucking play that mattered on the game other than the kneel down, obviously. And I tell you, 30 years of pain and hitting a parlay at the same time. I mean,
wow.
It was I was
what
I was
gamble,
shaking.
no
It was
pun
like I just
intended.
took drugs, honestly. It felt like I took a lot of drugs.
Pure euphoria.
It was. I was like,
Yeah.
I literally looked around at the people watching me because I was watching it. I'm up in Detroit, so not a lot of Bengals fans, but I have a couple buddies up here that play fantasy football with, and they were just in on the Bengals gambling wise, right? So they had a bunch of parlays here and there and things like that, and so they were rooting along with me for the Bengals, and that was a lot of fun. Chris saying that his parlay was with spread, so Chris Ferguson just dropping his nuts on the table and letting us know that he knows what the fuck is going on.
That is
Well done.
wow.
Yeah,
Well
excellent
done.
work, sir.
Wow.
Excellent
He
work. I think
also
everybody
said-
covered though. All the winners covered, so that was
They did.
He also said, "I'm still up, just betting on everything now. Currently, have 4 hockey games on my TV and 1 hockey game on my kids' TV."
Daddy. I want Paw
This
Patrol.
This dude
Yeah.
is balls deep. He is balls
I just-
deep betting right
I just
now.
imagine
I love it.
like I just imagine him kind of like being like Keanu Reeves in the and hardball, and he's just constantly
He's
smoking,
just out. Yeah, he's
burning-
outside of his
just
house,
burning
looking
Marlboro
through
Reds.
the patio door.
Yeah,
Come on,
that's what I
come
imagine
on,
he's doing.
come on.
Yeah.
We covered.
Yeah.
We covered.
Who's taking the
walks in-
fucking Bulls?
Walks into his house. His lady sitting there. His partner, rather. Chris, I don't know your life, so I'm not gonna assume his partner's sitting there. And Chris walks up and takes a tape deck, throws it into the cassette player. I love it when you call me Big Papa. Just getting down. Run to the bathroom
That's
for a spring
great.
break. Absolutely, Ferg. Absolutely. That's fantastic. So yeah, the Derek
Oh,
Carr
that's
parlay with
hilarious.
the Bengals win, all there. It was phenomenal. My hand was shaking for a long time. The amount of
Yeah.
dopamine rushing through my brain at that current moment was bananas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the first text message sent about the Bengals winning a playoff game was sent this year.
That's right.
Sent on Saturday or Sunday, excuse me.
Saturday.
That was Saturday.
Oh, I'm
Saturday.
sorry, it was Saturday.
That was I mean, you guys know I'm just I'm an emotional person in general, and when Jermaine Pratt caught that ball, I was already standing up. I just had my hands in the air, and Mary looked back at me and she was like, "Are you crying?" And I was like, "Yes." Yeah, I'm crying. I'm just like, I stood like this for probably 6 minutes, hands in the air, just tears running down my face. And I was like, "Mary, you don't she understands, but like, this is for any
Yeah,
Bengals
first time
fan,
you've ever
it
experienced
was,
that.
Yes. So like, I didn't know how to feel.
Yeah.
So the only way my body knew how to react was to let the tears out. I
So
guess. I don't know.
as a fan, I want to make one more comment on this, and kind of I want to say something about it as well. In general, just kind of the outside reaction looking into Bengals fans. So when it happened, obviously pure euphoria. I called my dad, I called just to talk to my dad about it and just experience that moment with him, and it was
That's cool.
it was really, really cool in general just to experience that, and so happy for the city and for the team. And one of the outside perspectives coming in was, well, these guys are treating it like they won the Super Bowl. They're acting crazy. They're getting wild. Like, this is nuts. Yeah, the fans are. But if that's what you're thinking that the team feels, you're not paying very close attention to the team, because I'm getting pretty close. My head's pretty close to Bengals Twitter. I'm getting closer to Titans Twitter, and I'm working on Bills Twitter as well. All teams that Rally Towel Sports really likes to be involved with. Because first of all, let me say this: Bengals fans, Titans fans, and Bills fans might be some of my favorite fan bases in the entire NFL. They're small markets that love their team, and they know their shit too. Like, all these fans really know their shit. So these people that are saying like Bengals fans are acting crazy, like they're gonna have a hangover coming in the next game. You must not have heard what Joe Burrow said after this game. He's like, "Yep, we
Right.
expected that. That's what we came here to do, and you're not going to see us acting like when we won the division. We're gonna, move on to the next one." Even Jamar Chase is like, "Yeah, that was a sloppy win. It was a sloppy win. It was a playoff win, the first one in 31 freaking years." And Jamar Chase is going, "Yeah, sloppy win. We need to be better."
I think the great thing that like for you guys as Bengals fans, and I mean even being from Cincinnati and not being a Bengals fan, like, it just makes me proud that there are people that want to represent that city and expect more. You know,
Yeah.
like even when if you got a rookie coming in and saying, "Hey, this was a sloppy win, but we got it done. We're going to be better."
Right.
And that just has to give you so much confidence going into the next game.
I got goosebumps when he said it because that felt
That's leadership.
Yeah, it felt
That's
very
maturity
authentic too. That he said that. It didn't feel like a bullshit comment. It felt very authentic when he was like, "Yeah, it was sloppy, but we got it done." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and you mentioned the leadership and the maturity.
Like,
You mentioned the leadership making in terms of being cool, calm, and collected out on the field, wise beyond his years. And now remember, Joe Burrow is 25. He's older than Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray. The list goes on. But I think he might be older than Josh Allen as well. I'm not 100% certain. They're probably pretty close in age. But nonetheless, Joe Burrow is the X factor. And just absolutely phenomenal play down the stretch so far from him. So
yeah, absolutely. A couple comments rolling in here. To touch on Todd's comment about Keanu Reeves, Chris said he runs to the bathroom for his smoke breaks. He's also a NASCAR, NHL, NFL guy. But now that it's legal here, Chris, if you could let us know where here is, that'd be great.
New York. Chris is from New York.
Okay. He said he finds himself betting on NBA too. A couple more comments. Bills fans are wild. I don't know if you guys saw that video of that Bills fan jumping off the top of an RV and landing on a plastic table.
Which one?
Cracking that shit in half. So I don't know. It got like 1 million views over the weekend. But that
happens. That happens at every Bills tailgate.
Oh, that was loud. Sorry.
Somebody gives it a shot, but he actually pulled it off. He busted the table in half and got up like nothing happened. But Lord only knows he probably dislocated his shoulder, but he was too drunk to notice.
Too cold to care.
Right?
Yeah, I mean the outside temperature will reduce the swelling immediately. So
absolutely,
That's
most
science.
important.
yeah, it's just science.
Yeah, a girl can't get pregnant if she's on top of science.
Yeah, it's gravity, idiot.
I think the most important comment that Chris made is the real deal OBJ back. Now we had spoken about this a little bit prior to getting on stream here. Just about the Rams in general. The Rams looked really good yesterday, and OBJ especially. I think it's something I talked about with one of my good friends that I play video games with. He's a big Rams fan, and just
must be a rough life.
Yeah, right. About OBJ and the rap that he gets, as a player and a person. New York, he was on the tail end of Eli's career. Didn't really have anybody that could get in the ball downfield. He went to Cleveland, signed a big deal. Things were supposed to change there, and they didn't. His exit from there was really, really bad. Then he goes to LA, and he's just been the guy that we know to make that great catch and keep making great catches like that, and sure hands. And so what do you guys think, Todd?
Yeah, so look, I don't think there's a question of OBJ's athleticism, right? It is very apparent that OBJ is still able to go up and do year one, year two. OBJ's problem is that he tends to kind of insert foot in mouth too frequently. He allows his circle to kind of, I think, skew him in a way that he creates bad publicity for himself, right? And occasionally he's silent, occasionally he's very vocal, and he doesn't really he's not consistent on how he's kind of made his exit, the way he made his exit from New York and then how he made his exit from Cleveland. I mean, we talked about the video that he made, or that somebody made for him, of Baker Mayfield like not throwing him the ball, and like it just like OBJ to me is just a guy that his off the field shenanigans have have officially outweighed his on field ability. And now that he's in a city where there's a lot of noise around him just in general. I mean, you're in one of the biggest metropolitans in the country. You're playing in a $690 billion luxury stadium. Like there's too much noise around you for him to take the spotlight. And I think it's done really well for him. And it's allowed him to kind of get into the roots of being a good wide receiver. And having Cooper Kupp helps significantly.
Yeah, and that's That's where I was going to go 100%. He's not the number one. He's not the number one receiver, and I don't even know if he would be the number two. Travis making a comment here that the net gain of signing Odell is kind of lost because Robert Woods, a.k.a. Bobby Trees. They lost him for the season, and then they got Odell. And if Bobby Trees is back in that lineup, I don't know that Odell's number two at that point.
Yeah.
But I think that does him well. I think that services him better because he's still very talented. There's no question about that. My biggest issue with Odell is that he can't stay on the fucking field. He gets hurt all the time. He is always hurt. Now, wide receivers are going to get banged up. Running backs are going to get banged up, right? Linemen banged up. That's going to happen, right? And I have a problem. No, Chris, you didn't miss it. We're talking OBJ right now. Don't worry, buddy. I just have a problem designating a number one wide receiver that typically plays 10 games max a season. That's if a good season for OBJ, 10 games. So, I think the Eli comments are relevant. You caught Eli at the tail end of his career. Probably would have been really, really good with Eli had it been earlier in his career.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield and the Browns offense, I think that they want to be a throwing offense that finishes with the run, but right now they're set up to be a running offense, and that's pretty much where they're at right now. And Baker being injured didn't do OBJ any services as well. So now he's in a system where he's got a quarterback that can execute those 20-plus yard throws, and he's got other weapons around him, particularly the running game, very, very effective for the Rams, has an offensive line that can keep the quarterback upright, and then other wide receivers that can complement him and draw coverage. Because if you looked at what the Cardinals tried to do last night, it wasn't take away OBJ. It was take away Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee. That's what they were doing. When the Rams line up Tyler Higbee and Cooper Kupp over on the right side, they're running those spacing stick routes, right? Where one's going to come up, the tight end on the inside is going to come up and space out to the left and kind of sit down right there in that middle zone. And then Cooper Kupp's going to do the same thing, get leverage underneath and cut and run along the goal line and take it. You saw him score a touchdown that way towards the end of the game. That's what they do. And then what do you got? You got OBJ out there on the outside, one-on-one, throw it up. He's going to make a play more often than not.
Right.
So
Right.
it does him so many benefits to not be the number one. And what really comes down to is how bad do you want to ring? Are you willing to take the back seat and the spotlight not be on you until it needs to be? That's the thing with OBJ. And I think he's starting to get that because he's on a winning team, right? So I think he's gonna relish in that moment. I think it's really good for him.
Yeah, no, I would completely agree. So one other thing that I saw that was interesting today, when I was just scrolling through sports media, I saw Deshaun Watson make a statement that said that he is going to go wherever Brian Flores goes if there is an open quarterback position available.
Wow.
What are your initial thoughts on this, Corey?
So initially, I think back to when and Chris for the comments says what he did to Eli was trash in reference to OBJ. He said that's why he's gone. So I would agree that the way that was handled was pretty piss poor on his part. But anyway, the Watson comment with I believe you said Flores. Sorry. That leads me to think about when we had Nathan on the show, Nathan from Four Laps Down, and he had said that he thought the Watson stuff at Miami was all, smoke and mirrors. He said,
media-based.
I'm calling BS, right? That's what he said. And now I'm starting to think that it wasn't BS. Watson in Miami.
Bridgewater, again, it's the love story of coming back from the injury and getting a starting spot again. That's great. We saw Drew Lock. We had I don't know if it was on the podcast or not, but we just had a conversation. Drew Lock is not a starting quarterback in the NFL. It is what it is. But that's a team that needs good sideline leadership, and I think a change in the backfield, right? So maybe not necessarily going out and taking the high round running back. By high round, I mean rounds 2 through 4, but there's a really good running back coming out of UC that I think will translate well into the NFL and would do well in the Mile High City. So I think that Brian Flores is a better fit there, whereas Las Vegas doesn't necessarily require – I don't know if Brian needs a new GM to
to frame it. They were fraudulent enemy number one for a minute for you.
Yeah, they suck
all season, and I think they proved that. I think there was a pretty big fight for fraudulent enemy number one this season. I think the Cardinals might have scooted to the top of that list with the way that they played after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think both are great fits. I think it really just depends on the direction, that those franchises want to move.
So, and I just wanted, Todd had made a comment like if he gets to bring a GM with him, that's never the way it works. Typically, it's they hire the GM and the GM picks the coach, or at least contributes to who the coach is going to be. I really, really struggle with an argument that says that Denver is better set up to succeed than Las Vegas right now. I just don't like Noah Fant. Yeah, Darren, I see you're Noah Fant, and I raise you a Darren Waller. Like
that wasn't my perspective of that though. So what I'm saying that Denver gives him more ability to lead in a specific direction, whereas Las Vegas doesn't necessarily give him that direction. We're not arguing weapons. We're not arguing talent. That's been nowhere in my conversation.
I guess I'm misunderstanding then. What direction can't he take in Vegas?
I just don't think that he has pressure to be in Las Vegas and to be a coach there and to be able to create your own path. I don't think that world exists as well for him as it does in Denver. Vegas is such a hot city right now in football with all the things that have happened with them over the last two seasons. And I think it's tough to go there and to be a new coach.
I can see that.
There's a lot of scandal.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a scarred history there in Las Vegas over the last, at least just this year individually. Another counter. Did I lose?
I don't know.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, all good.
All right. Chat, you have been the most patient group of humans that I've interacted with in a while, and I love you. My one caveat to Denver, you have to deal with John Elway. And he sucks.
Sure. Yeah, that's a yeah. I mean, he's gonna draft the quarterback, right?
He's gonna have all say over personnel, right? And that's And I